Imagine a wall of ice 700 feet high suddenly collapsing, unleashing a lake 40 miles long. That's exactly what happened in the Himalayas in 1841, and it's just one of the most incredible natural disasters most people have never heard about.
Oh, really? That's absolutely terrifying. How does something like that even happen?
You know, it's fascinating because these massive floods weren't just random events. They were caused by either enormous glaciers or landslides completely blocking major rivers, creating natural dams that would eventually burst.
So these weren't your typical seasonal floods then?
Not at all. We're talking about 3 main glaciers in particular: the Chongkumdan, Kichikumdan, and Aktash glaciers. These massive ice formations would sometimes advance right across entire valley floors, creating walls of ice hundreds of feet high.
And I'm guessing when these ice walls blocked the rivers, that's when things got really dangerous?
Exactly so. But here's what's really interesting. These blockages didn't always lead to immediate disasters. Sometimes the backed-up lakes would actually freeze over in winter and then slowly drain through cracks when spring came.
Well, that doesn't sound too bad. But I'm sensing there's more to this story.
Oh, there definitely is. When these dams did burst, the results were catastrophic. Let me share this incredible eyewitness account from the 1841 flood. A local described it as a horrible mess of foul water, carcasses of soldiers, peasants, war steeds, camels, prostitutes, tents, mules, trees, and household furniture. In short, every item of existence jumbled together in one flood of ruin.
That's absolutely devastating. Did they have any way to warn people when these disasters were coming?
You know, that's one of the most unbelievable aspects of this story. The local communities actually developed some remarkably effective early warning systems. In the Xingshal Valley, they would send people out each year specifically to monitor the glaciers.
Glacier monitoring in the Himalayas started back then. That must have been incredibly difficult and dangerous work.
It was, but it saved lives. In 1893, they successfully prevented any loss of life by warning people before a glacier dam burst. And what's really interesting is how this became a subject of intense scientific debate among British officers and surveyors who were trying to understand what was causing these floods.
So what did they conclude? Was there anything they could do to prevent these disasters?
Well, that's where it gets politically connected. Major Besher, who was the deputy commissioner of Kashmir in 1859, actually addressed this directly. He said it was basically impossible. The scale was just too massive. We're talking about having to remove what he called vast masses of mountains or of glaciers.
And I'm guessing these glaciers are still a threat today?
Absolutely. In fact, as recently as 1926, there was a significant flood when the Chongkumdan Glacier Dam burst. And with climate change affecting glacier behavior, it's something that needs continued monitoring.
That's fascinating and kind of terrifying. How did local communities adapt to living with this constant threat?
Well, they developed this incredible resilience and local knowledge systems. Many villages were actually built on higher ground, even if it meant giving up prime agricultural land near the river. And they learned to read the signs of impending floods, things like changes in water flow or unusual sounds from the glaciers.
It really shows how humans have to adapt to these powerful natural forces rather than trying to control them, doesn't it?
Exactly. And that's what makes this story so relevant today. As we face new challenges from climate change, these historical accounts give us valuable insights into how communities can adapt to extreme environmental events.
And I suppose they also remind us of the importance of maintaining good warning systems and community preparedness.
Precisely, and not just locally. One of the most striking things about these floods was how their impacts could be felt hundreds of miles downstream. The 1841 flood caused the river to rise 80 feet at Attic, which is about 750 miles from where the dam burst.
That's an incredible distance for the impact to travel.
And you know what surprises me the most? The way these events were documented. We have these incredibly detailed scientific observations mixed with vivid eyewitness accounts. It gives us both the human and the scientific perspective on these massive natural events. In fact, it would make incredible documentaries if someone gets curious.
How valuable are those historical records for modern researchers?
They're absolutely crucial. These records give us a baseline to work from, showing how these glaciers have behaved over the past couple of centuries. And that's particularly important now as we try to predict how climate change might affect glacier behavior in the future.
It's amazing how something that happened almost 2 centuries ago can still help us understand and prepare for future challenges.
You know, that's really the key takeaway here. These aren't just random historical events in the Himalayas. They're crucial pieces of scientific and historical knowledge that can help us better understand and prepare for similar events in the future. And with climate change potentially making these kinds of events more frequent, that understanding becomes even more valuable.